So I review a bunch of projectors on this channel. A lot of the budget range now has kind of moved into that 1080p space, so you can pretty much usually get a decently priced native 1080p projector. This one, like I said, is 720p. I think the novelty aspect of this is really cool for both maybe kids or for even older Pokemon lovers. If you grew up with Pokemon and you think this is just pretty awesome, this is a pretty nice small package to be able to have a little home theater or be able to have a little portable theater on the go. As far as the design of this, you can obviously see you got the two-tone red and white. And then on the front, this is actually a fabric front. It's a light gray, kind of heathered tone to this. There's a little minimal NexiGo branding that's on here. I think honestly you might be able to just pick that off if you really didn't want that on here. And then up on the top you've got the focus wheel. So I just use that manually to dial in my picture and everything. On the top there are some buttons. You do get a remote for this as well, but in a pinch you could also use these buttons right here on the top. Now the testing I did today, you're gonna see I had my Roku hooked up to this, and that's what I use to access Netflix and things like that. I'd really recommend use some other type of device like that, a Roku, an Amazon Fire Stick, something like that. That's gonna give you the best kind of navigation with this. Now the brightness on this is only 80 ANSI lumens. I've seen projectors though in this budget space that are basically double the price of this one, and they're really still just kind of nighttime only projectors, or if you're using it in a basement, using it with blackout curtains. So that is definitely what I recommend with this one. For setup wise, on the bottom here, this actually has a 1/4 inch tripod thread. So you can put this on a mini tripod, and because this is so small, that would be a really good option. And that would make it super portable. It would make it easy to just set this up on a table and point it at a wall. Or if you're gonna have it outside, you can put it onto something very easily. As far as connecting things to this, you have really modern options on here. You're gonna have your AC port here for the plug going in to power this. There's a full-size HDMI, so that is nice. Basically anything you're gonna connect to this, you're probably gonna use that. I mean, you could put a cable box hooked up to this, laptop, Roku player, Fire Stick. And this has a USB port on here as well, so for files or if you have movies or something on a stick, you could always plug that in as well. And then finally, there's a 3.5mm aux jack. So with that, you can hook this up to an external speaker if you want as well. So let's hop over right now. I'm gonna show you with this setup in my 100-inch diagonal screen. You can see what this looks like, and it's gonna be in a dark environment. I'll show you also with the lights on just to see. So getting into the quality of this, I mean, the colors are pretty decent. It's not super vibrant, super poppy or anything like that, but it's pretty decent. It's 720p, so it's not the greatest clarity. If you can see here, I'll zoom in on like the thumbnails, for example. From here, even about 7 feet away, I would say back from this, I can tell that the thumbnails are a little bit blurry. They're just not super sharp. I mean, then again, if I look at that top left area and I'm looking at the text, I mean, that text is definitely readable. So again, it's not going to give you the nice sharp clarity that you typically have for text with like 1080p models. And for the price point and for what this offers, if you're going to use this for kids or you're just going to throw this up for, occasional movies and things like that, I think it looks pretty good. Files, PowerPoint, text, web browsing, anything like that, it's not going to look the greatest. So this is with the overhead light on. It's pretty bright in here. And as you can see, this is not going to be able to really suffice for daytime or with the lights on. So again, definitely use it in a basement or where there's no windows or have some good blackout curtains. This also might have a little bit more of kind of a warmer color temperature to this. I can kind of see with some of the whiter thumbnails and things like that, there's a little bit more of like a sepia tone to things, but otherwise not too bad for 720p. So let's talk about the brightness. So the brightness of this is 80 ANSI lumens. Even ones that I've tested that are 200, 250 ANSI lumens, you're really not supposed to be using those during the daytime anyway. So if you've got a room with no windows or if you got a good set of blackout curtains, that's going to be your best bet for this. Otherwise, you can use it after dark and you can get some, nice movie nights, summer movie nights outside, and it can look really cool. Throw it up on the side of the house. Here's my MacBook hooked up to this by HDMI. And again, this is YouTube here. It's definitely hard to read the tabs up at the top. But as far as like the actual YouTube thumbnails and everything, I can see those pretty decent. And again, the text isn't crystal sharp, but I can read the text on the main thumbnails and over on that side menu. But yeah, the top text kind of up in this area is definitely hard to read. So here's some stock footage I have just to give you an example again of some of the colors and everything and what this kind of looks like quality wise. And again, the colors are maybe a little bit muted. The brightness on this, you know, isn't the best. Again, that sepia kind of tone, maybe a little bit comes through, but overall it's pretty solid. Like I said, if you're going to be using this for, you know, more just recreational purposes and, you know, throwing on an occasional movie and things like that, you can see it looks pretty decent here. And otherwise, the colors are relatively accurate. You know, there's nothing glaring that I see with this. So compared to, you know, native 1080p options, definitely not as crisp, but overall gives you a reasonably accurate picture and some pretty good experience, I think, especially if you're going to use this for like family movie nights, you know, throwing on occasional YouTube videos or movies at nighttime. All right, so you saw that part there with the image quality. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty impressed with it. I think it gives you a decent image for, you know, the total overall package and what this offers. Now the sound quality on this has a 3-watt built-in speaker. Some of the more recent projectors I've been testing out that are native 1080p options, a lot of them are sounding really good actually, and they've got more like 12 watts, maybe 15 watts in there for the maximum for the speaker. So 3 watts on paper doesn't seem like it's going to be super great, but again, I was kind of impressed with that. Here's my sound review. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of the sound quality here. We'll go through some of these trailers on Netflix. Here's an example of what this sounds like with the volume up all the way to 100.
In Matthew 9, verse 4, Jesus said, "Why would you entertain evil thoughts?"
James McGill.
Yes, Your Honor.
Not how I'm used to seeing you in here, Mr. McGill.
So you can hear there, I think the audio quality is pretty good actually for this. They say it's a 3-watt speaker. To me, it sounds pretty decent actually. You do have that line out, a 3.5 millimeter jack, so you can always put on like another small speaker. If you have, you know, like a Bluetooth speaker that has an aux input, you could do a 3.5 millimeter cord or aux cable to that. And that will possibly get you a little bit more volume, may get you a little bit more clarity. So as long as you're not in a super big room, that sound is going to sound pretty good actually off of this. You know, outside, again, depending on ambient noise and surroundings and stuff like that, it may not be quite loud enough for certain outdoor uses, but if you're going to just use this in an average sized bedroom or family room, I would say this would actually be pretty decent for just like a family movie night or something like that, and using the built-in audio. Now, if you did hook up a Amazon Fire TV stick, for example, to this, you could do that by the HDMI on here. If you do that, those do have Bluetooth built in, so you could always hook up a speaker by Bluetooth that way if you wanted, and that can significantly upgrade the sound quality coming out of this. The only problem with that is Bluetooth, typically you're gonna have a little bit of a delay probably. You know, you may have a little bit of a lag if you're actually watching some video content and you see somebody's mouth moving, probably gonna be a little bit of a delay. So if that's gonna bother you, then maybe don't use the Bluetooth, but otherwise that can be a really good option to actually increase the quality and the volume of the sound coming out of this. So for my testing, I had this about like the 9.8 feet away that they say that gets you 100 inches diagonally. They say I think it's about 4.8 feet away is gonna give you a 50-inch diagonal screen. So the way these work is just the further away you are from the wall, the bigger the picture. If you move towards it, the picture is going to decrease. So they say like the minimum focus distance is 2.62 feet away from the wall or wherever you're projecting this to. That's going to give you 24 inches diagonal. Then all the way up to about 11.8 feet away from the wall, that's going to give you 118 inches picture. That's what they say is kind of like the maximum. You may be able to get further away possibly. Focusing, you may have some issues or something, but like I said, I had this set up for 100 inches diagonally, and I thought that looked pretty good there. So overall, is this sort of Pokeball projector here worth it for you? And this is just a really cool novelty item. I think any Pokemon fan is gonna love this, whether they're adults or whether they're kids. So if you have a Pokemon fan in your life or you really love Pokemon, I think this is just pretty cool in itself that there's a projector that looks like a Pokeball. Otherwise too, if you're not super serious about what kind of picture you're trying to get for this, or just as a little hobby thing, you want to use this for maybe some family movie nights or some casual gaming nights or something like that, then I think this could be a good projector for you because this is a 720p like I mentioned. There's going to be an affiliate link in the comments and description. If you want to see some other options, that's going to give you a little bit more crisper text, a little bit better picture quality, and a lot of those are a little bit brighter as well. Like I said though, even though those are still pretty much geared towards nighttime use and dark situations anyway. There'll be some recommendations popping up at the end of the video here, and you can browse through my channel and see some of the other more recent ones that I've reviewed as well. Please like the video if you found this helpful, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.